Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you are all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and day 2 of the Super Week has just concluded. A very quick day indeed, 9-0 map count it went on the day. Haven't really seen this one in a long time, I believe. Thankfully it's pretty early for us still over here in Europe, and well, an early video for you guys hopefully to enjoy. Lots to discuss today though, especially some pretty spicy stuff regarding the Subliners versus London Royal Ravens series we're going to get into regarding Clayster in a few minutes time here. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Let's hop into things then. So first of all, these were my predictions for the day. Ended up being relatively good, but the first match, Mutineers versus the Paris Legion, I did not expect to go the way it ended up going. I don't really know how many people predicted a 3-0 to the Paris Legion, but that's how it ends up going. As you can see right here, Mutineers tweet this out yesterday. They actually figured out how to win a hardpoint against Los Angeles Guerrillas, but then, well, the CDL put it up on stream, the fact that after they lost that map number 1 hardpoint to the Paris Legion, that was, well, relatively surprising. And no doubt, of course, Legion are a relatively solid team. They've been looking pretty good so far this season, but against a team like the Mutineers, in a, well, it was pretty much a must-win series for both teams, but Mutineers certainly needed to win this. Paris were already 0-2, but for the Mutineers, this was a must-win series if they actually wanted to compete for the championship title. They lost to Toronto Ultra, therefore if they'd have won this series, they would have been in a position to, okay, win one of the series either against Chicago or Atlanta FaZe, and be in a good spot to actually get to the winners bracket and make a decent run of things at the major. But for all the talent on this team, they seemed very lost, to be honest, in some of their communication. I mean, game number 1, Paris Legion taken in the end. Very crazy map, to be honest. Like, this one went down to time. That's a pretty rare occasion, right? Paris Legion were trying to play the clock, where you get out of the hard point when you're in the lead, so that the clock runs down quicker than the actual in-game timer runs down, which is on the hard point, that being. So yeah, pretty interesting to see. Eventually, they almost got to choke it, but Mutineers get the kill. Well, they get the kill in the back here. The Skies goes down, and Legion end up taking it 222 to 220. Yeah, remarkable stuff. But yeah, map number 1 was very intense indeed. Aqua drops 38 kills to secure that game number 1, almost 7,000 damage, I believe, in this one. Then game 2, Paris closing out once again. Looked like, honestly, they were going to bounce back, I thought. Mutineers in this one, awakening, getting so many first bloods. I mean, Mutineers, like, so good at getting first bloods, but then they just can't convert. It seems like they're so discoordinated as a team, especially given the amount of talent this team clearly has. And Skies, once again, with a relatively underwhelming series from his standard. So, really interesting to see. As EasyMax says, 8-2 in opening duels, and they lose 6-4. Paris won 4 3 versus 4s, just something that cannot happen at all. And yeah, Mutineers, well, you could argue looking at these stats, throw away the search and destroy, go down 2-0, and we know Paris are actually pretty damn good at control, and they managed to make this one work in the map 3. We go, of course, over to Rage Control, fantastic to watch, and Paris Legion get the job done. A 3-0 sweep, but not what I was expecting at all. I mean, like, Scraps has a phenomenal series right here. You can see the other guys in the Paris Legion getting up to celebrate straight away after this series win. And the vibes on the Mutineers certainly not looking good on their side. Surprising result to me. Definitely expected our Mutineers to, well, they needed this match win. I thought that after their result yesterday seemed to turn up the last couple of maps up against LAG, they would figure out a way to close out this series in something like a 3-1, maybe a 3-2. But Paris winning this 3-0, was not expecting that at all. Pretty much counts the Florida Mutineers out of actually contending for this major. And, well, Paris Legion actually find themselves in maybe a spot to bounce back somewhat and have a good run towards the rest of this stage 1. If the Mutineers' sorrows continue going forwards, certainly a team we're going to have to look at, right, especially given coming into the season, a lot of people would have said, you know, maybe a top 4 team in the game on some people's estimations, given what they were able to do last season, and clearly the talent that this team does have, and they continue to show, but just putting it all together in one place, seemed like the Paris Legion were able to do that much more effectively. So Scraps with a 1.29 in hardpoint, 1.71 in search, 1.25 in control, on their way to winning the series. Very impressive bounce back from him after, well, a somewhat difficult first couple of weekends, I suppose. But yeah, fair play to Scraps, gets the job done on this squad, and then they move on to the next matchup, that being Subliners versus London Royal Ravens. Very interesting to start us off here, right? Clayster was, well, putting the bird up to the camera, and people were somewhat confused exactly what is going on, and, well, Clayster seemed to not be very happy, as we will go on to explain in a second here, regarding that just before the series came up, they were, well, they showed the communication between him and the rest of his team, of him being very frustrated after their loss to the Los Angeles Thieves. He wasn't very happy with the CDL doing this. Yes, it is content, but he feels like that sort of communication should be kept private to at least some degree. Clay wasn't very happy. We'll talk about that in a second after we talk about the rest of the series. Potentially, he might get fined for this, right? As Chrome says, an OWL player was fined $1,000 for doing the same way back in 2018. So maybe Clay is going to take a fine for this one, but as, well, Subliners themselves say, we will pay his fine if that does indeed happen. So yeah, it seems like the Subliners and Clayster ganging up against the league to some degree, but well, before that, we'll have to talk about the series. This was incredibly clean cut. I haven't seen a series series like this that was this clean in so long. Pretty funny how the subliners lost the closest 3-0 probably of all time against Los Angeles Thieves, and then they win one of the most comfortable 3-0s you're ever going to see. 250, 151, map number 1. I mean, Clayster goes 1.45 KD, 32 in 22 to get the job done on this one. Shawnee actually has a great map with some highlight moments, but look at the rest of his team. Parasite -10, Dylan -11, Alex -11 as well. I mean, just honestly, the slaying was shocking from Ravens, and we can see right here they pulled away with it at the end, did the New York subliners. Then we go into the search and destroy, and a similar thing. London combined for 10 in 28. All of them have 7 deaths. Incredibly clean scoreboard, right? You've all got 7 deaths across the board. Very satisfying to look at, but well, not as a Royal Ravens fan, I suppose, because the team goes 13 in 1. The only round as Royal Ravens win is a ninja defuse that Shawnee gets right at the start, and from then on it doesn't go in his favour at all. I mean, Clayster goes 2 in 2, doesn't really have to do anything the whole map, but plenty of damage as you can see. He actually has more damage than Mac, even though Mac has 7 kills, as you can see on the scoreboard right here. And then going into the game number 3, I mean, it was just absolutely brutal. The control was just outrageous. It seemed like London had completely lost the plot. And the subliners say right here, there was some issue with the broadcast on the final map. The match was so brutal, they just turned it off. As Clay says, London Royal Ravens speedrun any percent, GG's to them. Probably one of the quickest series you are ever going to see. Clay right here, 1.45 in the hardpoint, 1 KD in the search, I think that 2 in 2 performance, and 3.33 in the control in terms of KD. I mean, he absolutely went off this series. Really impressive to see. The only thing freer than Bobby is the Royal Ravens, just absolute free dubs across the park. So this is what was very interesting though as a result of this. Clay then comes out on stream and explains why he was very frustrated with this situation. The fact that, oh well, he put the middle finger up on stream, explains it right here exactly why, well, he didn't think the CDL did the right thing.
Now, I was told to ask you something in regards to maybe a fine or something that may have gone down. This is myself tweeting saying we'll pay his fine. So tell me a little bit about this more.
Yeah, so we were all sitting here in the pre-match, and I had complained last time about showing my cam when I was super upset with my team and going hard, because the CDL requires us to leave our cams on and stay here instead of doing the flip up or unplugging the cam and stuff. And so I was pretty upset with them airing my after-match comms the first time when there was no comms, and then we're sitting here watching, and I saw that they released the comms with it too, and so it was basically just kind of a nice, screw you before the match. I don't appreciate that. I'm going to be having a talk with the league. If they're going to make us sit here and stuff like that, I think it's a little unprofessional to use the comms in the video from that, especially right before we play our match.
So this is the clip he was just talking about real quick. Like we could see here at the end of their matchup against the Thieves, he was super frustrated, understandably so, with a lot of mistakes from the subliners in this match, throwing away some crucial rounds. And well, Clay felt like this was such a winnable series. They could have won all 3 maps. They throw away all 3. But fair play to Clay and the guys, they bounced back emphatically in this series. Ravens honestly looked terrible. Not really too much positive stuff to say over there, but subliners did look very solid. And Clayster, once again, looking for his 3rd ring back to back to back, is definitely setting himself on a good path to do so, given the performances he has been putting up so far in this title. Thought this is interesting as well that Slash has to do with Clayster, 2 in 2 on the board, 7 in 2 EKIAs. Definitely a conversation to be had, which way this should go, whether they should show EKIs, whether they should show kills. Certainly a question maybe we'll talk about in more detail tomorrow. Lots to discuss, I'm sure, over the coming days with all the drama that's going on right now. Final series of the day to finish us off here, Rokkr versus Seattle Surge, a matchup that I went in, thinking Rokkr should be favourites in this one, certainly, but Surge looked somewhat decent last week, winning that matchup against the Royal Ravens, but then again, I looked at how Royal Ravens looked earlier today, and thought, maybe Seattle weren't actually that good at the end of the day, and as you can see right here, Rokkr just run away with this map. 250 to 163, they did put a decent effort, Seattle, to come back in the end. Octane, I think, was the only one positive, but yeah, Rokkr closed out map number 1. Impressive slang and teamwork really all across the board. Rokkr are just such an impressive team in the way that they work cohesively as a unit. Really great communication on that squad, great slaying power as well, and certainly a team that can mix it up with the best, and this was an emphatic series victory, once again, as pretty much all of them were. Game 2 though, and Game 3 were very close. This is a map on Raid Search and Destroy where Seattle seem to be pretty solid, and Rokkr extend their, Search and Destroy streak to 6-0 or something remarkable like that. They actually win a hardpoint for the first time, that game number 1. Rokkr hadn't even won a hardpoint so far this season, so finally they get that done. But as you can see here, Seattle push it to around 11, was 5-3 at one point. You can see the rounds all went in the favour of Rokkr. They had some great mid-game adjustments. A couple of clutch rounds, especially from Octane winning a 1 versus 1 against Attach at a critical moment, sends it to a round 11, but a nice A execution from the Rokkr closes out the game. Then we go into map 3, and this one honestly came down to the wire again. Like, it really felt like Rokkr had the advantage in this. Seattle won a really crucial defense, and then they go to defense again in the round 5, and it looks like they have the game in the bag. Perfect situation all around there, the perfect spawns cut out and all this type of stuff, and then, well, Rokkr break in, Loony and Octane clutch up to get the kills on the hard point, or on the control point, I suppose, and then, then it comes down to the wire once again. But yeah, honestly, they kind of threw that final round away. Felt like the series was always going to go to Rokkr, but Seattle failed to even put a map on the board, and that is a pretty big deal potentially down the line when we talk about, okay, how are these tiebreakers going to be had? If there are important tiebreakers, it's probably going to be head-to-head first, but then if it goes down to map counts, then if it's like a 3-way tie or something to that effect, then we might be talking about map count being pretty important. So you don't really want to be throwing away anything, even in a series like this, to the Rokkr, where probably they were going to lose regardless. But pretty remarkable stuff. And so yeah, the third 3-0 of the day out of possible 15 maps, we only got 9, means a nice early bedtime for me and the boys over here in Europe. This was Prestinni's reaction, not exactly ideal for those guys. No, well, maybe Seattle, kind of as we expected, and London, 2 of the weaker teams in the league. Certainly showed it today, to be honest. Just to talk real quick before we finish off the video then, these are tomorrow's matches on the Wednesday. Royal Ravens versus Empire, Los Angeles Thieves versus Seattle Surge. Both of these matches are what we've seen so far today, should be relatively clear cuts. Then you've got OpTic Chicago versus Toronto Ultra. That is going to be a very exciting one for me to see. Intrigued to hear your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm to know you enjoy this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well, and upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care, and I will see you next time.